Hello, this is Jessica, the Communications Director for the 3D Business Launch Model, created by Gene Irwin. This is a worldwide live production event, focused on some of the challenges new small business owners have, as they pertain to your competitors, solving the client's needs, and a special new section entitled, 20 Major Challenges Which All Business Owners Face. The 3D Business Launch Model covers the details needed to creating and growing a business either as a startup, acquisition, or a franchise. Gene has elected to directly address several of the areas contained in the Video 6 entitled, Who Are Your Competitors? And Video 7, How to Solve the Client's Needs Better. Gene has also created a new section shown in this 10-part mini-series for the first time to include 20 major challenges all new business owners face. These are an addition to the 10 mini steps to your own home business we provided earlier. These specific areas that he is highlighting today are those which are most likely to keep you from beginning and creating your own home business. This discussion is designed to help you overcome those hurdles and discover that you can effectively deal with these challenges. Gene is confident that if you are made aware of potential problems now, you will be more effective at discovering, creating, and growing your own home-based business. Here to discuss some of those challenges of competitors, client needs, and the 20 critical problems new business owners face is Gene Irwin. After he concludes his remarks, I'll address you with more content.
Hello friend, this is Gene Irwin, the founder of the 3D Business Launch Model, today talking to you about Video 6 and Video 7, Competitors and How to Meet the Client's Needs. We have a special bonus at the end of the particular video that talks about 20 challenges you're most likely going to face in the first year of creating and owning and developing your own home-based business. So my goal is to help you in all regards in that situation so we can help you become more successful at a faster pace. Again, Gene Irwin, founder of the 3D Business Launch Model. We're going to start with Video 6 and have some excerpts from the video we sent before, but this is just going to be some mini steps, and that includes, who are your competitors? Simplified approach to managing the competitive landscape, and unless your business has been established for 6 months or longer, most likely you don't know who your competitors are. And this also means they haven't heard of you either. So here's what we're going to do in this particular video. As the founder of the 3D BLM, my objective with these final groups of slides for the brief 10 mini steps to cover those specific elements that you, the new business owner, most likely need to consider. There will be times when you wake up the next day after making a decision the day before and you go, what did I do? I don't know what I'm doing. Well, the answer is, that's why you have me as your mentor. The goal here is for you to make a decision, and I will help you support that decision with better outcomes, faster responses, and hopefully more profit. So who are your competitors? Well, as it turns out, when you first get started, you have the major advantage of time and speed, which means you can burst onto the scene with a splashy grand opening, but unless you're a retail operation, or perhaps something like a copy center and you need to tell potential customers who you are and where you're at, I'd advise you not to make a splashy announcement of your public appearance. And the reason is, the majority of your clients don't need to know that. You want to have a one-on-one relationship with your clients in most cases for any products or services that are over $10,000 a piece. You don't want to look like a car commercial on TV with those outrageous claims only to find out that it's a bait and switch kind of operation. You want to keep a low-key, very professional situation, and later in the next couple of videos we'll talk to you about doing online e-commerce kinds of things that will give you a chance to create some banners for your website and so forth. But for this discussion, I'm assuming that you're working on a B2B or business-to-business segment. So who are your competitors? How do you find them? Well, there's several methods to find out who your competitors are. You can use trade shows, you can talk to their clients, you can look at their website, and you can also look at their advertising, both online and offline. And there are online search routines where we can sometimes be very helpful in finding our competitors. So let's talk about that for a minute. Some of the things that you're going to be able to do is to take advantage of online analysis. And here's one to take advantage of. It's called a social product, and it's designed to help you find some of the social media that some of these companies are using and to purvey their particular products and services. You can also look at these links here. One of them is called Zoom Info. The other one is called Go Seamless. And the last one is something called Data Axle. Now, I've created a complete video on the concept of using Data Axle, which used to be called Reference USA. You can look it up, referenceusa.com. It'll change into something called Data Axle. The significant portion of that is it's a very expansive website. As I mentioned to you in some of my videos, I use that for competitive analysis, but I also use it to find new clients and customers. It works both for businesses throughout the United States, and it also works for consumers. Now, keep in mind, there's something called the Federal Trade Commission, and they prohibit us from calling customers at their house. So if you're going to talk to them, you need to work with them online. It's the fastest way to get through all the noise, and that's what a lot of people do, is buy their products and services online. Pretty much just like you're doing now and working with 3D business launch model. But keep in mind, the majority of my clients are much larger, and I physically fly out to their location for 3 or 4 days and help them become very, very successful. And hopefully someday I'll do that with you. So there's another online tool that's extremely beneficial that helps you at the front end of you creating your own business. It's called Google Trends. Google Trends. And it's designed to help you look for some information that'll help you understand what your competitors are using for something called keywords in SEO, which is search engine optimization. You'll learn how to do that as your business grows. So in most cases, your product or services will have some type of competition in your market and chosen prospective clients. Your prospects and clients will most likely tell you who those competitors are. You want to find out all that you can about them, including their strengths and weaknesses, and create for yourself a competitive file, meaning a competitor's file, so every time you pick up a new piece of information that's updated by perhaps some phone calls, or perhaps it's updated for the opportunity to talk to some of their customers, you'll have a chance to flesh out and get a better feel for who you're dealing with in terms of competition, what their mistakes are, and what you can do to increase your market share. So let's talk about video number 7 for a few minutes, and that is how to solve clients' needs better. One of the things that we have to do to solve the client's needs better is learn how to work from the top down. What does that mean? That means you want to work with the person who owns the business or has been given the charge to make business decisions for acquisition of products and services like those that you sell and provide service to. And that individual, depending on their size of their business, probably makes all of the decisions relative to new competitors and new prospective suppliers or vendors, if you will, like yourself. Those are important people to know and understand what their needs are and so forth. So here's a couple of comments you should know on the front end. When you meet with the executive who has the final approval for the product or service you represent, keep in mind they're probably going to try and put you in your place, meaning they're going to probably tell you why they're so important in life. Well, that's fine. You just have to deal with it and understand that it takes a little while to win over the relationship and win over their trust. I remember a client that I worked with for 4.5 years before I got a $1 million purchase order from her. Her name was Carol. She worked for a company called Texas Instruments. It took me 4.5 years of meeting with her every couple of months, every 5 or 6 months. In fact, over across 3 different companies that I worked for before I finally got her to hand me a purchase order. Interesting concept. And you want to give the designated manager kudos or appreciations for receiving the responsibilities that they do. But also keep in mind, they're going to try and hold you at abeyance, meaning they're going to try and hold you at a distance so that they're not, quote unquote, influenced by your comments very much. They want to do all this on their own. But the goal here is to educate them and then to shield them from problems that your competitors are going to give to them with the lousy service or difficult product that they have. You want to make sure that you are there with the firstest and the mostest, as I've said before. But sometimes your product isn't as good as their product, and you have to understand and accept that. When I talk to you about being very specific in your communications, let me cover a couple of these things, and then you can look at the rest of them on your own. Number 1, you want to meet with the project administrator, and it may have its moments. Often they try to establish dominance. We talked about that. Number 2, don't ever lie. If you don't know the answer to the question they're going to ask, say, I'm not sure what that is right now. Let me set that aside, and I'll get the answers for you as soon as I can, probably later today when I get back to my home office. But in the meantime, don't ever lie. There's absolutely no good that can come from lying. in your own home-based business. Number 4, keep an open line of communications between you and the client. Make sure that they're up to date on everything that you're doing so they understand what to expect, especially if they've given you a purchase order and you're about to deliver a product or service that might be 6 or 7 weeks out before you can deliver it. You want to keep your prospect informed and updated on all aspects of your business, your product, and of course yourself. And then here's a surprise. If you want to keep clients for a long time, exceed their expectations. They have a certain expectation they have from vendors and work with them for years and years. And when you exceed those expectations, I guarantee you're going to get their attention. And never get into a discussion about pricing. If your prices are over $10,000 for a product or service, never tell them the exact price because it's going to change, I guarantee it. So the goal is to give them a range of prices. And especially if it's over $100,000, they know that they're not going to get an answer from you, but you can give them a ballpark. And you can base that number based on what your competitors are doing and based on what your company is going to do so that you don't blow yourself out of the water in the first couple of months of working with them. Remember, anything you say in a meeting or anything you say on the phone or anything you say in jest will be remembered by that company and that individual or the individuals with whom they have you go out to lunch with and talk to them about the product or service you provide. Never, ever lie. And never, ever say something you don't have authority to say. It's very important you understand that concept. So, the second part about those details is to help you understand how to make a presentation to your clients. I don't know how many business owners I've talked to in the past years. They don't know how to talk to their customers. That might sound kind of strange to you, but they don't. So I'm going to provide you with videos to make my point about presentations. There's only 4 things you have to solve every time you talk to a customer or client, but you need to know the sequence, you need to know the order, you need to know what you say to make sure that you get that down. There's a video link that you'll see here on the bottom of this slide. That's a video I created just for you. It's called the 8-minute presentation. Please download it, please look at it. And for your product and service, I want you to master that information. It's not enough to know what your product and service does. What you need to do is learn how to present that product and service to your customer in the most clear, concise, and correct fashion possible. Remember the 3 C's: clear, concise, correct communication. So now we're going to talk about something called 20 challenges. These are challenges that all business owners face. And we're going to put them in clumps of 4, for lack of better words. The first one's going to be called, what are the common challenges that all small business operations have to address? Let's discuss. Number 1, all small business owners have to deal with something called source of funds. In other words, where do I get the money to start this business? Where do I get the money to grow this business? What happens if it grows faster than I can possibly support my clients and customers? You might have something called purchase order funding, and that's a nice problem to have. It's also a scary proposition because you don't have any supplies. You're running low on supplies of services and products that you provide to customers, and you can't deliver any more on time. So it's important that you understand how to correct that channel of distribution where you can get the product to the client on time and the promises that you've made and the product and service works in the manner in which it was described and they're pleased with the results of that process. So you want to make sure you understand how to secure funds to not only start your business but also how to keep it growing. Number 2, you want to choose the best product and the best service that you can provide. As I mentioned to you, when you analyze your market, you may discover that there's 3 or 4 different products that you could create and that you could develop and that you could supply to your market. Out of those 3 or 4 products, try and choose 1 or 2 that you know for sure that you can create, make, deliver, and support. And then add to those as time goes on. So keep in mind, those are important things, is to be able to choose the product, choose the service that's going to give your client and customers the very best that you can do. Number 3 is an interesting challenge, and it's a problem every single one of us have, and that is, how do we transition from a job? How do we transition from the people I knew and loved and had to work with day after day after day for years, perhaps? How do I transition from that job to my own business? Well, I've explained it to you in a couple of ways, and that is, you want to try and make the transition long before you have to make the jump from being employed to unemployed to self-employed. So make sure you understand the benefits of trying to create your home-based business while you still have a job that gets you a weekly or bi-weekly paycheck or monthly paycheck, so that you don't have to worry about taking care of the home front. You know the bills are going to be paid. Now you can start growing your wealth and start growing your business. At the same time, help your customers and clients. Number 4, you want to make sure that you did a good job in your pre-launch analysis of your competition and also of your market. If those numbers are wrong, you're going to suffer the consequence of perhaps a business that isn't growing as fast or as strong as you need it to grow. So make sure that you take the time to understand what your market is, not just a bunch of hype, but real numbers, real people, real opportunities. Number 5, you need to learn how to grow and manage something called cash flow. I mentioned to you earlier, basically cash flow is the amount of money that comes into your business to support the sale you just made. And I also mentioned to you that sometimes the cash gets there long before you deliver the product, so half or a third or 20% of your sale is held back until the product or service has actually been delivered and installed and it's working properly. Then, and only then, will they give you the last 10, 20, 30% of the sale, because they're holding back to make sure you deliver what you say you're going to deliver. Number 6, this is always a challenge, and that is, when do you hire somebody? How do you do it? And who do you choose? Sometimes we make the decision for us by choosing to work with our relatives. Sometimes that's a good decision. Sometimes that's not a good decision. You know what, you've heard the phrase several times, it's not good to mix friendship or family with business. Well, that's true in most cases, but sometimes you have a marital situation where it works out just fine. Somebody works in the morning, somebody works in the afternoon or evening, and both parties get along. You're certainly going to test that theory and that experience. So, when you hire somebody, you try to do it before the need is fully prevalent, so that you have enough time to make the transition from one growth bump to another. In various companies that I've been with, the character of growth of the business changed when it was a $4 million company year to a $10 million company year. The same people that did the, for lack of better words, the front-end prospecting to that company weren't the same ones that carried across the finish line, especially when you get above 25 million and then go to 50 million and then go to 100 million. I've had the opportunity and the pleasure of doing that several times. But the people that begin the process don't stay with the process at the end. They're not the finishers, they're just the starters. And that's good to have them, and we call those founders. Because my job changes every day. I get to work with people all over the world that have new founder challenges, and I'm going to help them through, I'm going to help you through this as much as possible. Number 7, how do we manage time? Well, that's a good question. And if you don't manage time before, you certainly may not be able to manage it now, but you need to understand that time is a resource that you don't have enough of. You're going to be working 14, 15, 16 hours a day sometimes just to get this thing off the ground. And that's after how you've already worked about 8 or 9 hours at your other job. So manage your time wisely. And take time out for your family, take time out for your religious activities, and take time out to have a little bit of fun. But the more time you can spend building your business while you don't have the stress of having to make a sale is going to be highly beneficial to you. Number 8, where are the clients? As I mentioned to you, you can take a look at something called Reference USA, which is now Data Axle. You can get a library card. They'll give you access to the reference library for free. You can do it online at your home or at your office and be able to find the kinds of customers and talk to them. Believe it or not, customers are like birds of a feather who stick together. What does that mean? Oftentimes, the people who buy a product or service know someone else has also bought this product or service, and they kind of get together in something called a users group and talk about the things they'd like to see changed, and that oftentimes gets bubbled up back to the contractor or to the company like yourself. Say, listen, we'd like to see these changes perhaps, or an update, or maybe a new model coming out next week or next year. You want to make sure you never sell the future product for today. You help them to buy the product today that you have on the shelf, and the other one's 6 months, 18 months down the road. So you'll understand how to do that as your business grows. Number 9. This is probably tougher for most people than you can imagine. And number 9 is interesting in the sense because it's how to let go of doing everything yourself. I call it the control freak in us. We all have that, especially for the founder, the president, the CEO, the chairman of the board, and also the janitor. You get to do all of those things, but at some point in time, you need to let some of that responsibility go to someone else, so it'll free up your time so you can cause and create the business that you'd like to. Some of us who are creators aren't very good at being in sales or marketing or accounting or legal stuff. So understand you have a certain role to play, and there are many roles that are going to happen in your company, and as you grow, you release responsibility to those people, but you hold them accountable for the work so it gets done on time. And your supporters and choosing partner. Well, here's a litmus test for you. If you don't think you're going to like working with the person you choose as a partner, then I'd suggest you don't do that. Sometimes partners become aggravating to the point where you don't want to work with them anymore. Sometimes that happens and people get bought out by their partners all the time. So take the time to make sure the people you choose to be your number one or number two person behind you is supportive of you and supportive of the company goals, and will do everything they can to support you in your decisions and your choices as you create and build your business. Number 11, what are your products and services? As I mentioned early on, once you've done a very good job and determine what your market analysis is, you have to decide what those products and services are going to be. You want to make sure they have enough margin, meaning enough profitability in them, so that you can keep growing your business. And what are tactics versus strategies? A strategy is your overall goal. It's designed to help grow the company, but the tactics are the methods to support that overall goal. That's the difference between tactics and strategy. The strategy might be to win the war, but the tactics, sometimes you lose a battle here, you lose a battle. So you've heard the phrase, well, we lost the battle, but we're winning the war. So that happens. Next challenge, how do we fund receivables and get lines of credit? That's exactly my point earlier. If you have enough products and they're sold off the shelf so fast you can't keep them up there, you'll be able to find something called receivable funding. Easy to do that. Give me a call or send me a text or a note. We'll help you find the right sources to fund your inventory. Very simple process. Lines of credit happen when you don't need money. That sounds kind of stupid, but that's how it works. When you need a lot of money, the banks close their doors. When you don't need a lot of money, they come running to your doorstep. So it works. How do you recover from mistakes? Because they're going to happen. You want to try and forecast mistakes in challenging areas as soon as you can possibly see them pop up on the horizon. You do something about it. You assign it to someone else if you can, and you make sure that they track it all the way to the point where you finally got a stake in the heart, so that little vampire problem that just came around, you finally got it resolved. Number 15 and number 16 are pretty much the same thing, and that is, I lack the self-confidence to run my own business. And number 2, I'm insecure in decision-making. Those pretty much are the same thing, but they're a little bit different, because the self-confidence is something that you can gain by doing more of it. So someone once said that doing what you fear, the death of fear is certain. So the more that you can do what you're afraid of, the sooner that you're going to get past that problem and be able to work on it. We all start somewhere, and when you're trying to learn how to go swim in the water, well, we typically learn how to wade. We toe step in there, whatever you call it. And we don't all know how to swim right out of the gate. Some of us start as we're a young child and they're 10 years old. Some of us wait until we're in the teens. But it's a learning process. So is self-confidence. Self-confidence is gained when you do things you didn't think you could do. You said, oh, I could do that. That's pretty cool. Now I can do another one, and so forth. You'll finally continue to grow until you reach something called the Peter Principle, which is self-limiting for the most cases. And it designs to keep you back, hold you back from what you're capable of. I guarantee you, you're capable of doing a lot more than you think you are. As far as insecurity and making decisions, it's only a matter of experience. Once you make a decision and you live with it, and you correct any mistakes that you made because of that decision, you'll know not to do the same thing next time. In the next few areas, I'm going to complete this video series by talking about failure to master presentations. I assure you, as the business owner, you must become an expert in making presentations. Practice at home, practice at the kitchen table or in your private office, or practice outside. Find some place where you can talk openly so you can hear your voice, and you work with inflections. Take a look at my 8-minute presentation process. You'll find that it's very easy to memorize, Basically, what you're looking for are four things. Do we have enough time to talk about this product and service now? Number two, is there anybody else you'd like to have in on this discussion? Number three, if you like what you see and this sounds like something you want to do, will you tell me? And number four, since you like what we do, is there any reason why we couldn't get started today? Now, I know you don't know what the prices are, and neither do I, frankly, but if you like what we do, and this is something you want to add to your capabilities in your company, my question is, I need to have access to you on a regular basis for the next 30 days. Do you plan on being out of town for the next 30 days? So you got time? You got anybody else? We got time now to talk about it? Is this something you want to do? All right, so those are very simple to master, but you need to understand you master those presentations based on your product, service, and abilities, all right? A couple of things you need to understand. When you meet with a potential client for the first time, there are three things you have to sell. The first thing you have to sell is yourself. They need to know who you are. They need to know what your background is. They need to know what your credibility is. Once you've done that and they understand it, the next thing they're going to be concerned about is the product or service that you want to deliver to them. And they need to understand the features, the function, the benefits. But don't get too all jazzed up about that, because I'm going to tell you a secret here in a few minutes after I finish the next one. That is, the third thing you need to sell and get them comfortable with is your company. Where it's located, how long it's been in business. Why is it you think they're going to be able to support me and my company? You've only been in business 3 or 4 months. What if I get left holding the bag? You can do all the assurances you want, but basically, once you do this for a few hundred times and you get a chance to talk with people, I guarantee you, when I sit down with a company for a $100,000 situation or $30, $40 million relationship, here's what I do every time. After I know inside and out what my product and services are capable of doing, what my company capabilities are, here's the only question I ask the person I'm sitting down is, why am I here? That's it. That's the question I have. Ask everybody, multimillionaires, multi-million-dollar companies, why am I here? And if they answer it properly and honestly, they're going to tell you the problem they're having in their company and service and the challenges they have in training, the challenges they have in using a product or a service, things of this nature. They're going to tell me what's broke, because my process is to be the healer of broke companies and broke dreams. And that's why I ask them the very simple question, why am I here? They already know my credentials, and I guarantee you my credentials are solid. So when you understand people and when you understand presentations, pretty soon you're going to be very, very confident in who you are. You're going to be very confident in what your company is capable of doing, and you're going to be confident what your product or service is going to do. Good grief. I've spent hundreds of hours preparing this little tiny product so that you can understand what it takes to become self-employed and own your own home-based business and learn how to discover, create, and run and operate your own business. All right? It's taken me 35 years to create that process for you that you can take in about 30 days and come up to speed. But one of the things you'll learn as you go through this process, as you understand your products and services, is very simply, why am I here? And that will help your customer tell you exactly what their pain points are. That's what you're looking to do. So, if your failure to master presentations is finally out of the way because you've done enough time, if you do enough time, the death of fear is certain, then the next thing is you got to master prospecting. Well, it's the same thing as talking to a customer. This is a customer that right now isn't a customer yet. But in my mind and in your mind, there are only two kinds of people. Those who have your product and service and those that are about to. It's really that simple. And you want to wade through this prospecting process as quickly as you can. You want to, quite frankly, get a sifter. I remember my mother making biscuits decades ago, and she used this thing, I guess they call it a sifter, with it squeezed on the flour, and the flour went one direction, and the lumps of flour were thrown in the basket, in the wastebasket. And so what are you doing? It says, I'm sifting the flour to get the better parts. That's what you're doing in prospecting. You're trying to sift out and find out if this person is a possible candidate to be a client or not. Quickly get through that, and you'll find those that are more potential. Those are the ones you want to spend more time with. Number 19. It's lonely at the top. Yes, it is. But that's the goal here. The goal here is to make your company as large as you want it to be. To do that, Somebody has to start it. Somebody has to take responsibility and be accountable for its growth. That person is you. I'll help you any way that I can, you know that. And finally, the last thing is you failed to secure your mentor. You need to have me working with you for 6 months to a year. It doesn't have to be every day, it doesn't even have to be every month. But you need knowledge like I have so that you can, well, I'm going to call Gene because this problem happened and I know he's got the answer. You're probably right. But keep in mind, I don't know everything. That's because we haven't talked yet. But as soon as we start talking, I'll know everything about you. So the goal here is to help you succeed in all that you do. This is Gene Irwin, the founder of the 3D Business Launch Model, and the 10 mini steps necessary to help you succeed in all that you do. And understand more about your competitors, understand about the client's needs, and now you've just covered 20 challenges that all of us entrepreneurs go through every year. I wish you well in all that you do. I wish you success in all that you do. You have a great day.
Hello, this is Jessica again, the Communications Director for 3D Business Launch Model. Thank you for listening and watching this section in our 10 mini steps to your home business, which include the 20 challenging issues that all business owners face, as well as the online live discussion. Please contact us at 3DBLM by calling 800-750-8767 or by emailing us at gene@geneirwin.com. We look forward to hearing from you and want you to learn to succeed in your own home business. Download your own copy of our ultimate guide to your home business by linking to https://gene-irwin.myakajabi.com/ultimate guide. Please look for all videos that help you grow your own home business on the 3DBLM YouTube channel. Goodbye for now.